So, Jared Tallent, thank you for joining me here today with Athletics Illustrated. Congratulations on a great career, and I'm sorry to hear that a hamstring injury there has derailed your swan song sort of thing with Tokyo.
Thank you. Would have loved to have been in Tokyo at my fourth Olympics and be fighting for another medal. But yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't to be. My body just couldn't handle the training anymore, and injuries really stacking up over the last few years. But I had a great career, a lot of championship success. Unfortunately, it's not the career that I would have wanted. Sort of not missing out on so many medals. The medals that I should have had at championships. But I had a great career and really enjoyed it. 4 Olympic medals is something to be really proud of.
Yeah, indeed. So the subject we want to talk about, of course, is the allocation of funds that come from taking prize money back from athletes who cheated. And instead of giving it to athletes that were affected, like yourself, it's going to future prizing. But let's talk about Victor Chegan. I think that's how you pronounce it, yes?
Yes.
And his 30 doped athletes or alleged doped. Let's talk about, is he still coaching?
It wouldn't surprise me if he was still coaching. There had been a lot of evidence that he still was coaching. He was being protected in Russia, and they were even going to other countries to train. World Athletics or the Integrity Unit had a tip-off, and they actually caught him at one stage. But who knows if he's still coaching or not. Those athletes in the Russian walkers are still performing very strongly, and there's been a culture there for many years, a doping culture that's continued on, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're still doping and still training with him.
Yeah, I interviewed Vitaly Stepanov, who is one of the whistleblowers that is in hiding now, and his wife was that 800-meter runner. He says that's just life in Russia. He says they don't call it cheating. They have he had a phrase for it. I wrote it out. It was "we have an understanding" was the phrase. So they think that the doping's a norm, and as you're probably well aware of, it's RUSADA, the Russian Athletics Federation, and other bodies. It's just rife throughout all of their bodies of government to do with governance, to do with sport. They're not going to learn in just a couple of years, right? They're not going to change.
No, it's been going on for decades. I truly believe they have a belief that you can't win without doping, so they'll find a way to do it, because for them it's the only way that they can win, and we've seen that over many years. You always hope that there'll be change and they'll be doing the right thing in the future, but it's such a big change for them to go from having nearly every athlete in the team doped to having none. It's going to take a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Tell me about how it feels. Like, it's great to win silver, obviously, at the 2012 London Olympics. That's an accomplishment. But to retroactively be awarded the gold because someone cheated takes you don't hear your national anthem, you don't get to stand on the top of the podium, and it's not a gold medal for 4 years. So what is it like to get that medal after? It must come around full circle a little bit, but it's not the same, is it?
No, it's not the same. It's pretty bittersweet. And in actual fact, not many people know that it was the 4 years it took to get the medal was pretty much delayed by the former president of the IAAF or World Athletics, Lemony Diak. He'd been offered some bribes and had taken those bribes to pretty much delay the anti-doping process. So in actual fact, I probably should have had that medal in 2013, but I didn't receive it until 2016, which was really unfortunate for me. And not only just missing out on the day, not finding out for years that I was actually the gold medalist when people knew that the Russian athlete was cheating. So there's a whole range of things that have gone on that has really affected my career, not just in that event, other events. And it was, pretty heartbreaking to find those things out. missed out on those opportunities. I had family and friends that had flown to London. They would have loved to see me win on the day, especially my parents. They were there. They'd supported me my whole career, my coach. I'd put in so many hours and so much effort to train and be the best I could be. My performance in London was the best performance I ever did. I was so happy with it, but I had nothing on the Russian competitor who beat me. He just was so much, so powerful and so strong. I had nothing to respond to his speed, and it was just so disappointing that crossing the line, knowing that I'd given everything, and I still wasn't good enough because the guy in front was clearly a cheat.
Yeah, you mentioned something that piqued my memory a little bit. Locally here, we have one of the best exercise physiologists, Trent Stellingwerf, and his wife, Hillary. She now coaches at the University of Victoria here. She was a 1,500 meter runner. And as you know, in the 2012 London Olympics, the 1,500 meter field was one of the known dirtiest fields. I think over half of the finals were caught doping after. And he was prevented from getting to the finals by, any number of those women, right? So, but I asked about prize money and direct prize money. I know you mentioned 40,000 US dollars somewhere. Direct prize money is one thing, but aren't there, and you kind of just alluded to it, isn't there all sorts of ancillary other opportunities that you miss out on when you're not the Olympic gold medalist?
Oh, definitely in the moment. The gold medalists, I feel, are treated a lot differently to minor medalists. The opportunities they get, even since I became an Olympic gold medalist 4 years after the fact, the events that I get invited to over the years ahead will be a lot different just being a minor medalist. I know the Australian Olympic Committee, they put on a big dinner every 4 years to raise money for the Olympic team, and they always invite all the Australian Olympic gold medalists to that dinner. So that's just one example, but there's so many more, and probably opportunities from sponsorship or different events that they want. A lot of companies and charities and stuff, they want Olympic gold medalists to be there and represent them. So it does make a big difference, and it was 4 years of opportunities missed out, because I think most athletes probably cash in straight after the event. So you're a bit of an afterthought when it comes 4 years later.
Yeah, the luster's worn off a little bit because you're caught in the euphoria. So is the corporate culture that sponsors sport and looks for named people. I don't know how many corporate events I've been to where there's been Kyle Schufelt, Olympic medalist, or Simon Whitfield, the first Olympic gold medalist in the triathlon, and many others. So yeah, I can see. Have you had a chance to guess or figure out, do the math and figure out what you may have missed out on so far from not getting? And there's other medals you've won behind other people that may or may not have cheated as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just me. It's a lot of athletes that miss out, on placings and medals that have, and for me, it's my whole career was affected. There's so many different events where I've been bumped up medals but haven't received prize money, and it's very hard to quantify because you don't know what opportunities will come along, but you just know that you've definitely missed out compared to what other athletes have got. But for me, the one of the big things is just prize money I should have received from World Athletics for World Championships and World Racewalking Teams Championships, and I've added that up just quickly and simply, and it's $40,000 US that I've missed out. And all that money has just been paid to Russian athletes who have later been banned for doping, but have kept that prize money because they haven't returned to competition, so they're no longer required to, because they don't return to competition, they're not really required to pay it back. And then if they don't pay it back, it doesn't go on to the athlete that actually deserves it. So for me, last week to see that World Athletics would use some of the money paid from Russia through fines from their ban so that they could return to sport to then be paid to athletes in the future that probably haven't really been affected by the Russian doping saga. It was pretty infuriating when that money could go to the athletes that were cheated in the past.
$10 million fine was charged to all athletics, the Russian Athletics Federation, by World Athletics as part of the multi-step list of things to accomplish to be reinstated. And I believe they paid it. That money probably, covered some of the cost of managing this whole ban, but certainly you would think there'd be money there for some of the athletes that were affected. Do you think there's a possibility that there's a little bit of a fear that there's a Tour de France syndrome here? And that is when Lance Armstrong's titles were taken away, they had to go pretty deep to find somebody who wasn't doped to give first place to. It wasn't second, wasn't third. It was quite a bit deeper some years. Do you think there's any fear that they suspect that other people, maybe yourself, just haven't been caught?
Athletics is very different, I believe, to cycling. I think cycling is a very professional culture. A lot of money in that sport. Teams where in some events in athletics, particularly my event, it's still very amateur. So I truly believe most of the race walkers in my event group are clean and have been clean. And it was clearly just the Russians to it. Very, very few other people ever caught from other countries. I've trained with a lot of people around the world, have a lot of great friends in the event, and we were all very outspoken against the doping that was going on and the clear doping that was going on by the Russian athletes. And it's not really an issue. I believe that majority are clean, and it's I just think it's very unfair that if World Athletics have received all that money and they've decided to give it to athletes in the future instead of compensating the athletes who were cheated in the past, it's very unfair. And it's so disappointing. Not only was I denied medals on the day, I was denied the prize money, and I'm still being denied that prize money. It's definitely, for me, like race walking was never going to be a huge money winner event group, and it's not something I really ever. I didn't get into the sport to make a lot of money, but to have made that money, or should have made that money, and then still have not received it, even though World Athletics have been paid millions of dollars in fines, and they have that money there, and they could be paying it to athletes that deserve it. It's very frustrating because, it's 40,000 US. It's probably closer to 55,000 Australian dollars, which can go a hell of a way towards a mortgage or a house deposit, things like that. So I have a son now. My son Harvey is 4 years old, and I could use that money for his education. It could go for a whole wide range of things, and just to be denied that money that I should have had throughout my career, is very frustrating. But now it's even more frustrating that World Athletics have received millions of dollars in compensation from Russia, and they've decided to use that money on athletes in the future that haven't really been affected by the Russian doping crisis.
Are you doing anything, or did you just mention on Twitter to venture your opinion, or are you going to actually be able to functionally do something like a change.org petition or organize some athletes?
Well, the first step is I contacted the president of Athletics Australia, or our national federation, and he has personally written to Seb Coe. So that's the first step. I think we'll just wait and see what Seb replies with. Haven't received a response yet, but and then I'll be all open to ideas after that, where to go next if that doesn't reach a positive outcome. Okay,
yeah, fair enough, right? Like give Sebastian Coe an opportunity to respond. A couple of years ago, I think 2018, you had mentioned that WADA should be revamped. So is that related? Do they have a negligence there in some way, shape, or form? Because we know that the Russians cheating, especially in race walking, was talked about for years before anything happened. So Is that what you were referring to? Is WADA's a little bit negligent and not acting fast enough, and they should be revamped?
I think they've made a lot of improvements over the last few years, and especially athletics has made huge improvements for athletics integrity unit. So I'm a lot more happy with how everything's going these days, but you only wish that these improvements had come a lot earlier and could have benefited me during my career. Now that my career is over, it doesn't really make much difference to me, but it's good to see what going forward in the future that the athletes of the future hopefully won't go through anything that I went through. Because if I think of all the championships that I did, all the medals that I won, nearly every single time I was beaten by a cheat. And while I've received most of my medals, I've just missed out on all those opportunities like we've discussed earlier.
Now, you ended your career because of the hamstring issue and what have you. But after this Olympics, there's more worlds and what have you. And the next Olympics is really only 3 years away. So if are you out, because I know it's hard to leave a sport like that. So are you out doing a little race walking and feeling and seeing if the niggle is still there, or what's your status?
Yeah. So my first global championships was 2005. I've been going on for a long time, and these, like, I'm 30, turning 37 this year, so I think my body's just had enough. I had a really long and successful career. I'm very happy with what I've achieved, and probably just don't have that burning desire like I used to. Just that, wanting to get out of bed really early in the morning, get up, do all those kilometers. During my career, I was doing over 200 kilometers a week, most weeks. And those long, hard sessions were 40, 45 Ks on a weekend. So I'm probably not so keen on doing all that training as I used to.
And then I know Evan Dunphy over in Vancouver.
Yeah, I know Evan very well. So he's been very outspoken against all the doping, and we're pretty good friends. So we've done a lot of training together, and it's great to see he's doing really well this year. He's a good chance for a medal in Tokyo.
Hopefully, yeah, he can get himself a medal for himself and for Canada and for race walking as a sport, because it's not really big up here in North America, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, it's not huge in Australia either. Definitely countries like Japan and China, Eastern Europe. It's a lot bigger an event, but us little guys have been doing well, and I think Canada, Evan can really put Canada on the map for the walks in Tokyo.
Getting into coaching at all, or?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, but it's just been good to have a bit of a break from the sport. I've just been concentrating on work and spending a lot more time with my son. You don't really realize how much time you miss out with my son, because the amount of training I was doing and working, it made my days quite busy. So now it's a lot more relaxing just to go to work and then just come home and focus on him. So it's been good. But yeah, I think I would like to get into coaching in the future. I have coached in the past. I coached my sister to the 2016 Olympics in Rio. She's still training, but she has a new coach now. But yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I think it's something I can definitely do in the future. Okay,
well, good stuff. Thanks for this. Good luck with your future coaching and spending time with your son.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
See you, mate.